This was our last Bitcoin video. We did this November 10th.
And this is when we still were of the mindset that December was going to be some massive Bitcoin rally, obviously.
So I think around the 10th, that's when we break it, 100,000, dip back down. And then by December 17th, I think it's a straight run up to this price, 138,000. That was November 10th. Now it's January 9th. And the current price of Bitcoin is $41,000, just to set the stage of where we were and then where we are today. Guys, before we go any further, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified when our next video drops.
What happened that Bitcoin did not go higher? Even if it didn't get 100, it sort of tanked, and now it's tanking.
The first thing I want to say about making predictions in general is that I am a firm believer that you should be making predictions, both price-wise and time-wise, for your investments. You should have some idea of when it's going to hit a price that you would want it to hit. Otherwise, you're just investing your money with no strategy. Part of the strategy is where you think the exit strategy is going to be. So, okay, Bitcoin didn't hit the $100,000 in December. I look at price predictions as like a GPS. If I want to go to Los Angeles, or if I'm in LA and I want to go to New York, I'm going to set my destination. My destination was this price by this point by this time. Right. Now things happen. You have rain, you get tired. These things can affect the time horizon, but my destination is still New York if I leave from LA. So it did not hit the price target at the time that we said it would, or at least me. I'll go on record and say it was me. For the record, it does not change my investment strategy. I still think Bitcoin's going to 100,000. When we discuss end phase and you look at a nice channel, you're like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not a crystal ball here, but I'm thinking if this thing stays in the chart, it's going to go to $400 in 2023. Along the way, you're going to see things like end phase broke a channel and you go, wait a minute, it's not in the same channel as it was. Maybe this is a new channel. This the same sort of thing as I feel with crypto, except for some reason when you make predictions in crypto and it doesn't happen, people go, oh my God, it's like the end of the world.
I agree with you that we do have to make these predictions as investors, because if I'm investing into something, whether it's crypto or end phase or whatever, I have a value that I think it can hit, whatever that value is. And the timing is always the hardest part. But for it to hit $200 billion and I'm predicting it's 2027 or whatever, that's just like a pie in the sky number, because we don't know what'll happen between here and there. But I think eventually it will get there, just like you're saying. And so back to Bitcoin, I 100% agree that Bitcoin is going to get to 100,000. But I've always had this discussion with you over the last 4 months, 5 months, that it might not happen in December. And here we sit in January and it's not there. So let's go into the reasons why. There's always a reason, right?
There's always a reason. Anyone that was making a prediction in January or February of 2020 had all of their predictions completely decimated. And even though what happened to crypto in November, December was not on the scale of what happened in March of 2020, we still had some massive negative catalysts that hit all of crypto all at the same time. And I think there was a bit of like, if everyone's expecting it, the market's not going to make that happen. The two main negative catalysts that I saw was obviously the interest rates of the Fed. That was around the time that they were like, hey, just so you know, we're probably going to have to start raising rates. And then there was also India banned crypto. I found out at the time that like most crypto is actually held by people in India. So India has the highest number of crypto owners in the world. And this was updated around October 13th. So this is the news that was coming out around then when India said they were going to ban crypto. Apparently, more crypto is owned by Indian men than any other demographic in any other country in the world. So when India came out with news that they were going to ban it, this triggered a massive sell-off. We can actually see it on the chart. Cryptocurrencies have seen an exponential increase in interest even since the RBI ban was lifted in March 2020, with Indian exchanges clocking impressive user additions and sustained surge in daily trading volumes.
But China bans Bitcoin every year, so I don't know if that's...
Right, but I'm saying this year when they did it, it has an effect, right?
It's easy to hide Bitcoin, by the way. I could transfer it to almost any wallet, anywhere. Right. And I'm not saying hide it forever. There is a way to track it, obviously. So I'm not absent-minded. I know what's going to happen. They're going to track it, but to track everybody's Bitcoin where it is, the government has to have their eye on you already to want to even do that, right? So I don't know. I don't think the Chinese have given up all their crypto. That's my point. I think they still have a lot of crypto.
You're right, but you also understand that like a 1% reality could be a 10% move in the market just because of exaggeration.
Oh yeah, tiny.
It exaggerates on both sides.
So the main reason that this is happening, at least in my opinion, it's really Powell coming out saying that we're going to taper and not buy as many of these bonds. We're going to slow down the money printer, and all of a sudden, everybody gets scared that the interest rates are going from 0 to, I don't know, 2%, 1.5%, 3%. Like it's still small, but
it was going
massive move.
Well, it was like 0 or 1, and now it's going to like 3.
Well, but it's not, and it's not in one day. It's over time. So
Right.
it's right. It's going to be like 50 basis points, 100 basis points, 150 So whatever it is, me and you are not Fed experts, but the point is that money is going to get more expensive. And honestly, yes, when money gets more expensive, I understand why people take risk off. Even I did the same thing. I'm like, why would I hold these riskier assets now that they're crashing? And I know they're going to stay in this range.
I mean, but it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy because you wouldn't sell out because you're like, nothing's fundamentally changed. Like Tesla's still going to produce the number of cars, but you sell out because you think everyone else is going to sell out.
Well, yes.
That's what happens.
No, but that's true. That's very true. I'll give you a good example. So I did sell some crypto because my favorite company, like Enphase and even Square and PayPal, they have been totally hammered. So what that means to me is that I have a choice. I can keep my Lemonade stock. Well, what did we buy? Floki Inu, or I can keep that, or I can
Shibu, or
Shibu Inu. Am I going to keep Lemonade stock or use that money that I put into Lemonade and say, you know what, Lemonade is probably going to stick in a range because they're losing a lot of money, even though I like them for the long term. And Phase is making money now and they're getting hammered today. So I have a choice. I don't have infinite cash. So yes, you're right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that's what's happening. You have to go with what's happening.
But you're absolutely, the thing is, you're absolutely right. But none of that is based on like fundamentals or charting. That's psychology. And this is why we go into these like parabolic bear markets, because as it further tanks,
you mean opposite parabolic?
Yeah, it's an opposite parabolic bear market. That's kind of what we're caught in. It's like an undertow in the water.
It's so small that honestly, any small population of people can move it.
Look at El Salvador.
The market cap of all crypto is $1.9 trillion. So we're talking about
that includes Ninja Floki. That includes
hold on. I'm sorry.
That includes everything.
Basically, Apple is worth 50% more at $3 trillion than all of crypto. So anyone who thinks they're late into crypto, okay, it's one of two things for crypto. Crypto is a fad and it's going to die. That is a possibility. And hold on.
A $2 trillion fad. Yeah, it's going.
No, but I'm saying that is still a possibility that it ends. I don't believe in that possibility, but I want to give it like the 5% chance. Fine. The second possibility is that crypto is completely undervalued for the long term. That one day we're talking about
$1 million Bitcoin.
I said 20 trillion, 50 trillion, 100 trillion asset class. So if equities are worth tens of trillions, crypto assets will probably be worth tens of trillions one day, whatever, 10, 20, 30 years. One day it's going to happen. And whoever's sitting on this long enough is going to be extremely happy. But that won't be me. I'm selling out. And as soon as it hits,
I'll be long gone. I'll be dead. Real quick. Proposed India bill banning crypto payments could mean jail for violations document. This says December 7th. According to the summary of the bill, the Indian government is planning a general prohibition on all activities by any individual on mining, generating, holding, selling, or dealing in digital currencies as a medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. That basically says you can't have any crypto.
I think the Fed controls the narrative of this.
But it's like what we said. We saw this in July. When China banned crypto mining, there was a contraction for a while. And we saw Bitcoin's price come down for a while as new mining operations had to pick up the slack from the Chinese. I think somewhere in September, October, it was an article that had mentioned that but now, at that time, all of the mining that has been replaced. So it took 2 or 3 months? Because crypto doesn't have earnings calls, like you could see on Tesla, it has a bad earning, the next day it drops. It's more like a general trend. It's not going to be on any one specific day. But even the news that Indians are going to be selling. It's not going to
help. I agree.
It's not going to help. People in America might front run and start selling before that bill gets passed. People in India start moving it to different exchanges and selling it before. So that, like you said, and the worry of the Fed. See, if we didn't have that, that was sort of like the big catalyst. But then when you have a lot of negative catalysts, eventually you're going to break through that support and it's just going to tank. And I think that's what we saw. And so that's why we didn't get our price. Does it mean it's not going to happen? No. Just like SNDL, we need legalization of the green bean. Just like FUV, we need the ATVM loan for certain investors to feel comfortable, maybe even for institutions to buy back. And so I do feel like you should be making predictions of what you think and then be prepared to be wrong. And then when you're wrong, look at why you're wrong and make a new calculation based on that information.
I do want to share, we have people actually joining us. So thank you, Sabrina, Samurai. We do have some people joining us, so thank you for joining us. But please also, communicate with us because we have some great conversations happening. And I've been posting charts. Do you see this? Like about Enphase and when I'm looking to buy it next, which is coming up soon. We have plenty of discussion about what's going on, what's going to happen with the channel is there. Where's our Tesla? It's hopping. Look at Carlos's Tesla. You guys are missing out on some good stuff.
You're missing out.
Look at that car. Woo! So we have a lot of
Sexy.
discussions going on, obviously FUV, different talks, and Lee's actually participating. He's an excellent guy to participate. We want more people to join us. So come on in. It's absolutely free for this main part. We do have a Patreon. And just check it out. There's 4 different levels. I won't go into all of them. Our last video, I'll link it and I'll put it in the description. But we have supporter, fan, super fan, and we do have the investor level as well. And there's a lot of cool perks for that.
If you dare, the investor tier.
And the last part is we actually have merch. And check this out, free the green bean. Come on, who doesn't want to wear that? Like, it's ridiculous.
Come on, look, your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend. Come on, your kid.
This is Benjamin Cowen, Into the Cryptoverse, very big channel, 686,000 subscribers. I want you guys to listen about his theory of Bitcoin and lengthening cycles.
Lengthening cycles, the evidence for it has been there for years. And now it's time to find out what's going to happen. Will Bitcoin's market cycles lengthen? Will we put in a new market cycle all-time high or not? Now, technically, as measured from the halving, they already have lengthened. But the theory that when we developed this theory way back when, we looked at the market cycle bottoms, not the halving. And in order for Bitcoin's market cycle to lengthen, we still need to put in a new all-time high. As measured from where we are today, the cycle has unofficially lengthened by about 34 or 35 days, depending on what time zone you're in. But until we put in a new all-time high, we cannot say that the cycle has officially lengthened. The whole idea is that each cycle 1 was this blue line straight up. This was cycle 2, the yellow line was cycle 3, and then the purple line is cycle 4. And it seems like we have a long way to go. And some people, I think, misinterpret lengthening cycles and say, well, maybe we'll see a peak in January, right? Or February, and then it's technically lengthened. And yeah, that would be technically a lengthened cycle. But at the same time, the second cycle was a year and a half longer than the first one. And the third cycle was a year longer than the second one. So there's no reason that the cycle only extends by a month or two. I would say it's more likely that at the very least it extends for 6 more months. And that would be a lower bound estimate, I would think. Okay. I've said this many times. If Bitcoin had peaked in December, that would have meant that this time was different. I think a lot of people don't understand this. They think that this time is different because the cycles are lengthening. No. The cycles have always lengthened. It would have been more surprising to me if the cycle had ended in Q4 of 2021. So look, there's no guarantees about lengthening cycles. I mean, I don't know for sure what's going to happen as we continue to head out into 2022 and maybe even into 2023. But I would say that I am standing by lengthening cycles. I think it will play out. I think Bitcoin will go to new all-time highs, and I don't think we're going to have to wait until the next halving to do so. We're doing the same thing Bitcoin has always done, and that is experience a lengthened cycle and diminishing returns. I think we have a ways to go, and eventually we're going to see a parabolic rally by Bitcoin that's going to redefine what it means to own a single Bitcoin and be a new paradigm shift in the market.
And he does believe still Bitcoin is, we're not over yet. We're going to 100,000. He does believe that. That's at least positive news for us.
Here's my issue with it. I agree with everything he's saying, but he's setting himself up that he'll never be wrong. And I believe that price predictions are like setting a GPS in your navigation. I'm not just going to start driving to New York and not having any idea of when I'm going to get there. I don't invest my money in Tesla to say I'm going to make my 3x someday. I have a very strong case of where I think Tesla will be in the next few years, including 10 years out. And I'm going to watch the charts and watch the news, but I'm going to have some sort of an end game.
So he does say around 150,000 is where he plans for it to go this cycle, wherever that ends. So he does have a line, and he thinks, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be sometime towards the end of 2022 to 2023. And he sort of hinted at this multiple times. And I think it's going to play out the way he's saying. This is why I'm not happy with this prediction. I want it to be super rich today.
My biggest point of contention, there's always some verbiage in there that will make it okay if he's not correct. We have all these institutional money coming in. Bitcoin can never hit these prices without institutions adopting it. And they're basically in cycle 1 for them. They were ignoring it. They were laughing at crypto. They were saying it was for drug dealers, all of the previous cycles. Now we have like a new player entering the game. A lot of what we talked about in our $100,000 Bitcoin video was the psychology of the institutional investors. Whoever can read and figure out what these guys are going to do will have the most accurate price prediction. And a lot of what I read was that a lot of the institutions just wrote this year off. We're going to allocate our money correctly, and they're going to go into it in this year.
To me, this clearly looks like lengthening cycles. Bitcoin tops happen a little bit later and later and later each time. Where are we in the 4-year cycle then? If you're saying, is it over?
Let's ask Bob Loukas. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but it was this video.
Listen, Bob is someone we both follow, and he's very smart, and I really want to hear what Bob has to say.
Really respect what he has to say. Just as a preface, how Bob looks at these things, 4-year cycles, as sections of 60-day cycles.
He has a 4-year cycle, inside our 60-day cycle.
Inside the 4 years are 60-day cycle. If we're using this analogy of GPS, every 60 days, you sort of gauge where you are. He looks forward.
We'll miss it again and also start to get in at a price around 70, 80, and 90,000 and leave themselves very little room to a top. And that's because if we do get that run, all the super cycle narratives and all the up-only narratives will come back in force, sucking all of the participation in to the top to provide liquidity for that market for the top and their eventual reversal down. To me, again, looking at the monthly, we're sitting at the 10-month moving average right now. You know, the 10-month moving average for a trend is important to me. I like to see any bull market uptrend respect that 10-month or a 10 EMA, in this case, the 10-month moving average. We're right at that point, slightly below that level right now. So here's where I'm saying we need to build this base and hold this kind of level right here. And that's why losing those lows from back in June really tells me that the trend is done. At that point, it's too late in the cycle. You can get away with it early in the cycle like we did here in March. It's certainly because we did stretch too far to one side and then the pendulum swung back the other way. This time we're 3 years into the 4-year cycle and we should be getting into that really speculative blow-off phase of the cycle. I don't see a market that can support on the monthly getting below that $30,000 level and then reversing and coming up to a high. Just not enough time as far as I'm concerned for that to play out. So this is why I'm saying here, we need to hold this level. We can make a move down to 40. We can even possibly wick down to 30 in a sharp fashion and end up with a wick similar to the March 2020 wick. In the end though, by February, I'm looking for this move to come back up to test those highs. And then, as I said, 2 cycles, maybe no more than 2 cycles, I would think, into the summer months now, looking for that peak, then a bear market decline. And then let me I've talked about this before. I think we can then follow that up with a relatively quick bear market decline into the 4-year cycle low, sharper in nature than anything else, that follows a V-shaped recovery to make one final run to the peak of the next cycle.
Okay, I want to pause it right there because
let's discuss this.
Lengthening cycles, 4-year cycles. Bob sees it as we're in the 3rd year of the 4-year cycle. He's seeing us en route for a double top. He's seeing some sort of peak that we're going to have, a blow off top that will then be followed by a bear market and then another subsequent peak. So to someone in the lengthening cycle theory, it's going to look like the cycle's lengthened because we'll have that. But if you're charting it based on how Bob says, X number of 60-day cycles equals the 4-year cycle, we're going to have a blow off top at the end of this 4-year cycle, followed by a left translated cycle for the next 4 years, where we're going to have the blow off top in the beginning part, which is like 2024, and then a subsequent bear market 3 years going down, leading to the next halving. Now, a lengthening cycle theory person like Benjamin would say that's proof that the cycles have lengthened, where Bob is going to say, well, between that first peak and second peak is where I'm counting the next 4-year cycle. So what I like about Bob is he looks at monthly charts, he clouds out a lot of the daily noise, a lot of the weekly noise, and looks at the overall trends.
We're both saying that Bitcoin is going to 100,000. We just believe different times. So look, if you're in Bitcoin, congratulations. We're going to
100,000, right?
Do not capitulate in February when it doesn't, because maybe it doesn't go there in February and it goes there in, I'm looking at you directly. It goes there in, I don't know, November, October, August. I don't care, because at that point, I'm in it for the long haul.
At some point, Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000. And when it hits that, it'll have a lot of volatility, and then it'll hit $200,000 and it'll hit $300,000. Way
later. But hold on.
We know that that's the overall trajectory of this as an asset class.
We believe that with Bitcoin, this is going to happen. Not with Floki Inu, not with Dogecoin, not even Cardano, which I love. Bitcoin. Things will go off of that. We believe certain things will happen, but honestly, Bitcoin is the king that determines what the peasants will do at the end of the day.
It's the sun in the solar system, and everything revolves around that.
Anyone who's looking at these charts like we did, why we were wrong about Cardano. Let's talk about this. Why we were wrong about Cardano and Doge. Why? Because Bitcoin took a
The number one prerequisite for everything we said about Cardano, Ethereum, and Doge was that Bitcoin needs to hit this price. And especially for the altcoins, then Ethereum needs to hit a certain price.
Right, which we were aiming at 10,000.
Right. And actually, a lot of what we said about Cardano and or Doge, it's still in play. It's just not ready yet.
Yes, it's in play. But once again, it can stay in this channel just trading sideways 2 months, 6 months, a year.
7 months, a year.
We don't know until Bitcoin actually wakes up and says, hello. Okay. I want to just show you this before we wrap up, that Bitcoin rainbow chart price is kind of an amazing thing that it's still sort of holding. And it's been predicting this for I don't know how many years, but it's been a while where this has been happening, this prediction. It's a series of bands, but following the logarithmic progression of Bitcoin's price. So if you look at any time Bitcoin is in this extremely cheap place, what is it? Basically a fire sale. This chart would have clearly said, you got to buy Bitcoin. DCAing into Bitcoin for the long term is not a terrible thing, but I have Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin, so we don't have to worry about this kind of movement. But let me tell you, if it ever does happen to get into these lower bands again, by some miracle that it's around 20,000 or under, it's also just a massive opportunity that I don't think me and you will pass up again. So I think even though we say that and everybody's like, oh my God, it's tanking, but that's why it's important to have some soldiers on the sideline. And that's why I was getting ready with some of these sells to have some soldiers on the sideline. If I don't want to be in a position where, let's say Bitcoin goes to 20, let's say Enphase goes to under 100 and I got no money, that's the worst position to be in. That thing might come true. That thing might actually come true. So remember, around 20,000, 25,000, under that, I don't know. You guys can take a look at this. This seems like a great opportunity if it happens.
Ethereum has been way more resilient during this panic bear market thing that we're in than Bitcoin. There's no reason why Ethereum should be at $3,000 right now.
Usually when Bitcoin tanks, Ethereum tanks harder. Yeah. So now we are, let's say 50% off the highs of Bitcoin, maybe 40, 45%, 40%, whatever. Ethereum technically should be 60% off its highs, but it's not. It is more like 40%. So it's following very closely with Bitcoin as opposed to tanking more. While all the other crypto, if you look at it, all the Dogecoin, the Cardano, that's getting
bloody.
creamed.
Oh, they're getting crushed.
So this is actually important. I actually think Ethereum is holding on pretty strong. It's not even back in this bullish trend we were in before we broke out. So can it get back into this trend? It is a real possibility that as we go forward and Bitcoin does not do anything powerful and it just tanks a little bit more slowly, it's possible we get back into this channel where you're right. We're back to where Ethereum is getting more devalued against Bitcoin.
There's a resistance level at 0.08, and you can see what happened the last time it touched that point. This chart tanked.
This is 2018 where everything capitulated. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and obviously Ethereum took a huge, massive dump straight to $80.
Ethereum's price now is what Bitcoin was a couple of years ago. And I think people are going to look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to get together even $40,000. But I can see someone saying, I'll scale in a couple of months. If it stays at this level, you might end up with 40,000 in Ethereum by the end of the year, but you might not have been able to buy a Bitcoin. This is the same thing. We're just speculating. This was the Motley Fool speculating whether Ethereum will hit 10,000 before Bitcoin reaches 100,000. Ethereum's market cap is now half the size of Bitcoin's. The ratio between the assets is 0.08. That 0.08 is the number that we're seeing on the chart. We're now at that point.
Yeah, well, we are at 0.074.
Okay, coming down.
I just want to make this clear for people who don't follow this as closely. Ethereum keeps printing Ethereum. Let's face it. It's an inflationary coin, but it's a great inflationary coin. We love it, right? Bitcoin is a deflationary coin. There's only going to be 21 million. As soon as that's all mined, it's gone. You can't mine anymore. But you can keep mining Ethereum for forever. And that's also another reason I think it'll be more successful, because the market cap will keep growing and growing and growing. Eventually, even if that 0.08 ratio we discussed stays the same, eventually Ethereum's market cap will usurp Bitcoin's market cap. It's going to happen, even if the price does not go up. But that's not what we want. We want the price to go up too, obviously.
Looking at your chart, we're at that 0.08 level. One of two things is going to happen. Either Bitcoin needs to go on a run right now to increase the number of Ethereum that you need to buy one, or Ethereum needs to tank.
Well, it's a prediction show, and I will make a prediction. I think Ethereum is going down. I think the crypto market in the interim, we're talking about in the interim, so no fudsters here. I'm not paid by anybody.
They're going to come anyway. Okay. You could say that all you want. They're already typing right now. This guy with the hat doesn't know what he's talking about.
And that mafia gangster. I do believe the Fed controls the narrative until that all plays itself out. Maybe February is a time where it could turn around, but I don't see it hitting the peak in February. Like, that's a pretty bold prediction. So if Bob is right, he is the GOAT.
Well,
right?
he didn't say it was going to hit the peak. He said he expects the turn in February.
No, look at his chart. It's like February, March. Bring up his chart
No,
again. Look right there.
So he's here, 22.
That red arrow.
Yeah.
That red arrow. Where's that red arrow?
This red arrow's in the middle of the year. This is
Oh,
2022.
so that's June as well.
He's saying in 2023, when the next 4-year cycle begins, he's expecting a
Okay.
run-up.
Okay. So let me fix that. It looks like, I'm not sure where the arrow lands, but it looks like possibly June, which aligns with Benjamin too. So, okay. So everyone thinks we're going to start moving up at some point in February. Fine.
And that's what he was saying. He's thinking that February starts the run up, and then we'll have the parabolic blow off.
So it's not
somewhere.
a different opinion then. It's almost a similar opinion. One guy says it's later past the half of the year, past June, July. That's Benjamin. And also, it seems like Bob is saying it's around the middle of the year or later, possibly.
If you like the content here, hit like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can notify when things happen.
Check out our Discord, our Patreon, and our merch store. We got a lot of cool stuff. And thank you for joining us.